Hello, today we're going to be learning some stylish and tasteful soul rhythm guitar licks from Mr. Cornell Dupree. And I'm going to be looking at the track Rainy Night in Georgia, which is a real masterclass in this kind of playing. And I'm going to show you the licks, but also I'm going to try and help you understand what's going on behind the licks so that you can expand your rhythm guitar vocabulary and you can really make some of these ideas your own. So let me start by having a bit of a playthrough. So there we have it. There's so much good stuff you can take from this track. I think we've got double stops, we've got sixths and fourths, jazzy chords, a great sense of timing and a sense of space. So I'm going to take you through exactly what Dupree plays, but what I'm going to try and emphasize is how his ideas relate to the underlying chord progression, and that way you'll be able to take away some general concepts which you'll be able to use in other situations. Now, the song Rainy Night in Georgia has been recorded many times over the years. This video is based on the 1970 recording by singer Brook Benton, and that's the one that's got Dupree playing guitar. He was part of the session band on that recording. So let's get started. So we actually have a very simple chord progression in the key of D, and this style of playing is all about how you embellish that chord progression with licks and fills. And important thing to remember, and I think a lot of players get this wrong when they try and play in this style, is that it's all about the song and it's all about the vocals. So yes, you can get quite fancy with the guitar part, but if you get too fancy in the wrong places, then it's not going to work. So I think you have to pick your moments when you're going to do these licks and fills, and listen out for those gaps in the vocal phrasing, which is your opportunity to play some fancier guitar stuff. The introduction then. And the basic chords that we're dealing with here are just D major 7 for a bar and then C major 7 for a bar. So D major 7 is obviously the one chord in the key of D major. C major 7 is actually a non-diatonic chord, it's just the one chord shifted down 2 frets. And what Dupree is doing over these basic chords is this lovely line based on fourths, based on the interval of a fourth. So I'm sliding this little shape around. I'm sliding up to the 11th fret on the G and the 12th fret on the B, and then sliding that same shape 2 frets lower. And one thing that I like to do when I'm playing in this kind of style is to think in terms of chord shapes and chord tones. So you might like to think of these fourth ideas as living in and around a familiar chord shape, like this D major bar chord at the 10th fret, and then you've got these little fourth shapes hiding in and around that basic bar chord shape. But you could think of the notes as belonging to the D major scale as well, or perhaps the D major pentatonic scale. All of the notes in those shapes are in that particular scale. So line continues like this. We've got, we're now coming down to another double stop, and this is actually a major third that we've got now. We've got a D and then an F sharp, and you might like to think of this shape as belonging to this bar chord. It's an A-form bar chord at the 5th fret, and you've got the root and the 3rd hiding within that chord shape. And then the harmony is changing to a C major 7, and Dupree is playing this pair of notes. So now we've got a major 6, and we've got a G, and we've got an E. And once again he's hitting the chord tones. These two notes are part of the C major 7 chord. And then really it just repeats. So we go. The only difference is the second time we're actually strumming the full C major 7th chord. So if I put all of that together. Incidentally, I'm quite often using a hybrid picking approach for this kind of style. So I'm using my pick for the lower note in these double stop shapes, and then using the middle finger of my picking hand for the higher note. Moving on to the verse then, and the basic chords we've got here are just D and G, which is the 1 and 4 chords in the key of D major. So we've got a bar of D, 2, 3, 4, a bar of G, 2, 3, and then 2 bars of D, and that repeats twice to form an entire verse. And once again, Dupree is sometimes he's strumming the full chord, but mostly he's just outlining the sound of those chords with some double stops. So the first bar of the first verse, we've got a D major 7 sound, and Dupree is doing this. So we got some sixths here. So on the D and the B strings, we're sliding up to the 7th fret, then down to the 5th fret, and then down to this shape here, which is an F sharp and a D. So we've got 1, 2. Harmony is changing to G, so you just play a G chord of some kind on the first beat there. So it could play a bar chord. I think I'm detecting some open strings in there, so I'm just playing a G and then a couple of open strings. And then we've got another little fill over the G harmony, so which is something like that. So sliding up to the 7th fret on the low E, double stop at the 5th fret, and then a little pull off, and then I'm up to the 7th position. I've got a double stop on the A and D strings, and then hammering on to the 9th fret. So these notes, you could think of them as G major pentatonic. But then we're moving back to a D chord, and we're once again hitting the chord tone, so hammering in to the major 3rd of a D chord. And the harmony is staying on D, and we've got a nice little fill based on fourths, quite similar to the introduction. So this is the same shape that we started the introduction with. But this time we're coming down to the 6th fret and the 7th fret, so it's a C sharp and an F sharp. And this is outlining the D major 7 sound. We've got the major 7th and the major 3rd. So it's a nice double stop to land on to outline that sound. Second half of the verse, we've got the D chord again and a slightly different fill. So here we've got that little major 6th shape at the 7th fret, just catching an A on top, then coming down to a G chord, and Dupree seems to be just picking out the D string and the B string, so I've just got a G and a D note there. And then another of these fourths fills. So this is exactly like the introduction, but this time it's centered on a G chord. So, and then back to D again, and we're hitting this 6th shape, which again is the 5th and the 3rd of the D major. And then right at the end of the verse we've got some more of these fourths. Again, this is just like the introduction. Landing with a full D major 7th chord. So that's the first verse. Let me put all of that together for you in time. 2, 3, 4. On into the chorus then, and we're shifting to the relative minor key, which is B minor. And it's nice the way that Dupree gets there. So we're coming from a D major 7th chord, and we've got this kind of move. So from the D major 7 shape, he's just picking out some double stops from within the chord. So again, with a hybrid picking technique, just playing the G and the high E, and then the D and the B, and then moving to this B minor triad shape. So we've now got a bar of B minor, and he's doing a little fill, just based off of the chord shape, I think. So it's a double stop at the 7th fret, hammering down the 3rd finger, taking it off, and then putting it back down again. So we're moving to F sharp minor 7, so I'm playing this up at the 9th fret. So I'm barring at the 9th fret, and we've got an F sharp root note, and then we've got the 11th fret on the D, 9 on the G, 10 on the B, and 9 on the high E. So F sharp minor 7, and playing a little fill based off of this chord shape. So just with the 3rd finger, you're just kind of fluttering it around. So if you move your 3rd finger over to the G string, just do a hammer on and a pull off, and then you're hammering on the D string as well. And you're kind of picking 2 strings at a time there, so you've got that double stop sound. And then that same move, just 2 frets lower, to take us back to the B minor chord. So and then we've got another bar of B minor and F sharp minor 7. So we've got B minor, and then to lead us back to the F sharp minor 7. I'm just playing this, a little bit hard to hear on the recording what's happening here, but I've got a E to F sharp hammer on, and then an A, and I'm playing this C sharp. And then another little fluttering idea. So on the top string, 9 and 12, coming back to this A note. Now at the end of the chorus, the basic chords are E minor, G, and D. And this is the lick that Dupree is playing. It's a fantastic lick, this one. So we're starting off right out of this E minor or E minor 7 chord shape. So it's more of this fluttering around with your 3rd finger, and then some more 6th. So at the 10th and 12th frets, coming down to a B and a G. These are just chord tones from a G chord. And then we're heading back to D with this move, which we've had previously in the song. Then the final few bars of the chorus, we've just got a bar of C major 7 and a bar of D major 7. And on the C major 7, Dupree is strumming this shape here. Then I can just hear this kind of jazzy chord, which is a voicing based on fourths. I'm at the 7th fret on the A, D, G, the 8th fret on the B string. And I suppose you could see that as kind of a rootless C6, 9 kind of sound. So it substitutes nicely for a C major chord. And then that's taking us back home to the 1 chord D major 7 before we go round for another verse. So let me put all of the chorus together for you in time. You've got 1, 2, 3. So the second and third verses are exactly the same chords, and a lot of the stuff that Dupree is playing is very, very similar. So I'm not going to go into that in any detail. It's actually a little bit harder to hear what Dupree is doing in the second half of the song, just because another guitar has now entered, a kind of wah-wah guitar, and that's panned in exactly the same spot as Dupree. And also we've got strings and things going on as well. But one extra section that I will go into now is the bridge section, and I'm just going to take you through the basic chords here. So we've got a bar of C major 7, a bar of D major 7, then we do that again, C major 7 to D major 7, then we've got G, F sharp minor 7 to E minor. It's 2 beats G, 2 beats F sharp minor 7, 1 bar of E minor. Then we're doing that again, G, F sharp minor 7, and then I think it's going to a kind of A7 sus4 for a bar, and then we're back to this C major 7 to D, which we do a couple of times before we head into the third verse. Let me briefly take you through the gear I'm using in this video, and after last week's pedal extravaganza, I've actually kept it very simple today. And I'm using my Telecaster. This is a 52 reissued Telecaster. Amp is a Fender Deluxe, and I'm actually using just one pedal, which is my J Rocket Archer Overdrive. And I'm not really using that as an overdrive. I've got the gain set very low, and it just seems to warm up the sound a little bit and add a little bit of mid-range, which I quite like the sound of. So that's about the end of this video. I hope you enjoy learning to play the song. Now, for those of you who are interested in learning the rest of the track in a bit more detail, what I thought I'd do is up on my Patreon page, I'd post a little bonus video where I go through the second and third verse and the bridge section and show you some of those little extra licks in there. I just didn't have time to put all of that into this one video. So check that out if you're interested. Also on the Patreon page is going to be my backing track and my music and tab. But that's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.